My wife secretly drained our joint account of $250, $0 to fund her affair with my best friend, then turned around and sued me for half the house and savings. Now I'm lost, furious, and wondering if I'll ever get justice. I never thought I'd be the guy to get like this, but here I am, sitting in my own living room, staring at my wife's phone like it's the key to some dark secret I never wanted to find. The moment I saw the messages, everything changed. It was like the ground beneath me just dropped out. I'd always suspected something was off, but I never imagined it would be this bad. The worst part, the woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was secretly screwing around with my best friend Tom, and she had drained our joint account of $250, $0 to fund her affair. Yeah, that's right. She took half our life savings to keep her little secret going. Her name is Lisa. She's a pretty woman, confident, always had that bitchy edge that I thought was just her personality. She's the type who can turn on the charm when she wants to, but behind closed doors, she's manipulative and cold. We'd been together for about 8 years and I thought we had a good life. Nice house, decent jobs, a future. I worked as a project manager in a tech company and she was a marketing executive. We weren't rich, but we got by. That's why finding out she drained our savings hit me like a punch in the gut. It started small, little things that didn't add up. She'd be late for dinner, always with some excuse about work or a girls' night, but I could tell she was hiding something. Then she started acting more secretive with her phone, always keeping it close, locking it whenever I came near. I brushed it off at first, telling myself I was just paranoid. I mean, what man wouldn't be a little suspicious when his wife suddenly becomes elusive? But then the signs got more obvious. She was spending a lot of time away from home, always with her phone in hand, whispering into it when she thought I wasn't looking. One night, I decided to check the bank account after she went to bed. I wanted to see if she was spending money on something she wasn't telling me about. That's when I saw it, an unexplained withdrawal of $250, $0 all at once. My stomach turned cold. I looked closer. It was transferred to some account I'd never heard of. The account was under her name, but the name on the account was a guy named Jake. That's when I put two and two together. Jake was her, a guy she'd been texting a lot lately, always with those flirty emojis and late-night messages. I couldn't believe it. My wife had been lying to my face for months. She was sleeping with my best friend, and she had the audacity to drain our savings to fund her affair. I felt like I was in a nightmare. The betrayal cut so deep I couldn't breathe. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I was so blind to it all. The thought of her lying in bed with Jake, knowing she had taken half our money to do it, made me furious. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I knew I needed to plan my next move carefully. I couldn't just blow up and lose everything I'd worked so hard for. Still, I was seething with anger. I wanted to make her pay, to make her understand that she couldn't just treat me like this and get away with it. The next morning, I woke up knowing I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I needed answers, and I needed to hear her lie to my face again. I decided I'd confront her that night, but I knew this wasn't just about the money or the affair. It was about trust, about respect. And right now, I felt like I had none of either. I had to prepare myself for whatever she would say, knowing that whatever explanation she gave, it wouldn't be enough to undo what she'd done. When I looked at her that evening, I saw her smile, that fake, sweet smile that I'd come to recognize as her mask. But beneath it, I saw the guilt, the fear, and the lies. I was ready to find out how deep the rabbit hole went. I never thought I'd be sitting here, face to face with her, trying to get some kind of truth out of Lisa. She looked good as usual, confident, a little defensive with that bitchy smirk that I used to think was kind of sexy. Now it just made me want to punch her. I'd already seen the bank statement, so I knew she was lying, but I wanted her to admit it. I wanted her to look me in the eyes and say she'd been cheating on me with Tom, that she'd drained our savings, that she'd lied about everything. I started the conversation carefully, trying to keep my voice steady. Lisa, I need to talk to you about something important. I saw the withdrawal from the account 250. Care to explain what's going on? She looked surprised for a second, then her eyes narrowed. Oh, it's nothing. Just some investment thing I was looking into. You know how I am about the future. I wanted to surprise you with a big plan, but I guess I should told you first. Her voice was sweet, but I could see the flicker of guilt behind her eyes. She was lying and she knew it. Really? Because I checked the account and it's under Jake's name. Care to tell me why you're funneling money to your? I kept my tone even, but inside I was boiling. The betrayal was so raw I could barely breathe. She scoffed, crossing her arms. Jake, he's just a friend, you're overreacting. Maybe you're the one with trust issues. I've been working late, sure, but that doesn't mean I'm cheating on you. You're always accusing me of things I haven't done. Her words sounded rehearsed, like she'd practiced them in front of a mirror. I felt my fists clench. You've been spending nights away, hiding your phone, and now I find out you've drained half our savings to fund your affair with my best friend. How do you expect me to believe your bullshit? Did you really think I wouldn't find out, or did you just not care? Her face twisted into a sneer. Oh, please. You're always so paranoid. It's not like I've done anything wrong. Maybe you're the one who's been cheating, always working late, never paying attention to me. Maybe I just wanted to find some happiness, some excitement. Is that so terrible? That's when I realized her excuses were just that, excuses. She was trying to turn the situation around, make me feel guilty for catching her. But I wasn't buying it. I was furious, hurt, and completely betrayed. How could she lie so easily? How could she take my trust and throw it in the trash? I told her I knew about the affair, about the money, about everything. Her reaction was instant. She started crying, claiming she was sorry, that she didn't mean to hurt me, that she was just stressed and needed an escape. But her tears didn't move me anymore. I saw through her. I knew she'd been planning this for a while. She'd carefully drained our account, knowing I wouldn't notice until it was too late. And all the while she was pretending to be the innocent wife. That night I felt like I was losing my mind. The woman I'd loved, trusted, and shared my life with had turned into a complete stranger. I was angry, yes, but underneath all that rage was a deep, aching sadness. I'd believed in us. I'd believed she loved me. And now I saw that she'd been lying right to my face, using me and betraying me every step of the way. I didn't yell, I didn't break down, at least not in front of her. Instead, I just sat there, listening to her lie, watching her cry. Fake tears, feeling the weight of everything crashing down around me. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I could been so blind. I had loved her, I had trusted her, and she had taken all that and thrown it away for some affair, for a quick thrill, for her own selfish needs. As she begged for forgiveness, I knew one thing. I couldn't stay silent anymore. I had to decide what to do next. But right now, all I felt was a mix of anger, betrayal, and a deep, gnawing sense that my life was about to change forever. The days that followed felt like living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Every time I thought about her, about what she'd done, my stomach clenched with rage. But at the same time, there was this sinking feeling that I'd lost something I truly believed in: my marriage, my trust, the life I'd built. I kept going over everything in my head, trying to figure out how I'd missed the signs, how I'd been so blind. It was like I'd woken up one morning and everything I thought was real was just a lie. I started digging deeper into her phone and our bank accounts. I needed to know just how far she'd gone. That's when I found the real shocker: messages between her and Tom, my so-called best friend, planning secret meetups, talking about the future and what they could do with the money. They'd been conspiring behind my back for months. The betrayal was even worse than I'd imagined. Tom, my closest friend, the guy I'd trusted with everything, was sleeping with my wife and helping her drain our savings. I couldn't believe it. I remember sitting on the couch, staring at her messages, feeling the blood drain from my face. My mind was racing. How could they do this to me? How could they turn everything upside down? I felt so stupid for not seeing it sooner. The pain was sharp and persistent. I'd always been a guy who believed in honesty, loyalty, and commitment. And now, it was like those words had been completely meaningless. The worst part was the money. The $250, $0 she drained from our joint account. That wasn't just some petty theft. That was our future, our security, gone in one reckless move. I kept thinking about all the things I could have done with that money: paying off the house, saving for retirement, maybe even starting my own business. Instead, it was gone, funneled into some reckless, selfish affair. Every dollar drained out of what little stability I had left. It made me feel sick. I decided I had to confront her again, even though I knew it would be messy. I needed to hear it from her, straight from the horse's mouth. One night, I sat her down in the living room, my heart pounding. She looked at me with that fake innocent look, like she hadn't been caught with her hand in the cookie jar. "You lied to me," I said quietly but firmly. "You drained our savings, you lied about where the money was going, and you're sleeping with Tom. How could you do this? How could you betray everything we had?" Her eyes flickered with a mix of guilt and defiance. "I never slept with Tom. You're crazy. You always jump to conclusions. The money. It's just an investment I was making for us, for our future." "You're so paranoid. I don't know what you're talking about." I shook my head, feeling the anger boil over. "Stop lying. I found the messages. I saw the bank statement. You're lying to my face just like you lied about everything else. You've been cheating on me with my best friend and you've stolen from me. How do you expect me to believe anything you say now?" She scoffed, her voice rising. "You're just jealous. You're insecure. I don't need to explain myself to you. I was miserable and I needed to find some happiness. If that makes me a bad person, then so be it." That was the moment I realized she wasn't going to take responsibility. She was justifying her actions, gaslighting me into thinking I was the crazy one. I felt my fists clench again, but I kept my voice steady. "You're not the victim here. You're a liar and a cheat, and I'm done trusting you." She stormed out of the room, crying, screaming that I was overreacting, that I didn't understand her, but I understood enough. I knew I had to do something, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy. The betrayal cut so deep, I couldn't see how we could ever come back from this. That night I stayed up thinking about everything. I knew I had to act fast. I couldn't let her keep running this game. The money, the affair, the lies, all of it had to be dealt with. I wasn't going to be some fool who got played. I'd been betrayed badly, but I wasn't going down without a fight. The next step was clear. I needed to figure out how to get my money back, how to protect what was left, and how to move forward from this mess. I just didn't know how yet. The morning after that confrontation, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My head was pounding and my stomach was in knots. I kept replaying her words, her lies, and the way she looked at me like I was the crazy one. It was clear she wasn't going to admit anything, not without a fight. But I wasn't about to let her get away with it. I knew I had to act fast, before she could cover her tracks or drain more of what was left of our lives. First thing I did was call my lawyer. I needed to understand my options, especially with that $250, $0 gone. The lawyer, Mark, was a no-nonsense guy with a reputation for handling messy divorce and financial cases. I explained everything: the affair, the money, the lies. Mark listened carefully, then told me I had a good case to get a court order to freeze her accounts. I also wanted to see if I could get some of the money back, especially since I believed she transferred it to her own accounts or to her new lover. While I was on the phone, I also started digging into her financial records myself. I hired a private investigator just to get a clearer picture of where the money had gone. I wanted proof, hard evidence to show the courts, and to make her realize I wasn't going down without a fight. I knew she was cunning, probably already trying to hide her tracks, but I wasn't going to let her slip away that easy. In the meantime, I kept a close eye on her. She was trying to act normal, but I saw through her. She was defensive, constantly texting or calling someone, probably Tom or some lawyer friend she'd contacted. She was pretending to be the victim, crying and saying I was overreacting, but I knew better. She was trying to spin her lies, cover her tracks, and keep the money hidden. That afternoon, I confronted her again. I told her I'd hired a private investigator and I was preparing to take legal action. She scoffed, trying to dismiss it. "You're just being paranoid. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't done anything wrong." But her words sounded hollow, like she was just trying to buy time. I saw the panic in her eyes, and that made me angrier. She thought she could just lie her way out of this, but I wasn't going to let her. I also started gathering evidence, screenshots of her messages with Tom, bank statements, copies of her transfers. I wanted to be ready for whatever legal battles were coming. I knew this wasn't just about money anymore. It was about justice, about making her accountable for what she'd done. I had to protect myself, my future, and whatever was left of my dignity. That evening I sat down with a glass of whiskey, trying to process everything. I was angry, yes, but also hurt. I'd trusted her, loved her, and believed in us. And now, it all felt like a lie. The woman I thought I knew had turned into someone I didn't recognize, selfish, manipulative, and willing to destroy everything for her own selfish needs. But I also knew I had to stay strong. I couldn't let her manipulate me anymore. I had to get my money back, get legal protection, and figure out what my next move was. I'd always believed in fighting for what's right, and I wasn't about to let her get away with this. Whatever it took, I was going to make her answer for her betrayal. I just didn't know how messy it was going to get, or how much more I'd have to endure before I finally saw some justice. The days dragged on, and each one felt heavier than the last. I was knee-deep in legal calls, gathering evidence, and trying to keep my emotions in check. I couldn't believe how quickly my world had collapsed. She'd taken everything, our savings, my trust, my peace of mind, and now she was fighting me every step of the way. I felt like I was in some twisted game I didn't want to play, but I knew I had no choice. I had to fight for what was mine, for what was rightfully mine. My lawyer, Mark, advised me to file for a court injunction to freeze all her accounts. We needed to prevent her from transferring or hiding any more money. I also started working on a divorce petition, knowing that this wasn't just about money anymore. This was about ending a betrayal that cut so deep I wasn't sure I'd ever fully recover. The thought of her walking away with half the house, half the savings, and her new life with Tom made me sick. Meanwhile, I kept track of her movements. She was still going to work, still pretending everything was normal. But I could see the cracks in her armor, the slight tremble in her voice, the hurried texts she'd sneak in during lunch. I knew she was trying to cover her tracks, probably with some kind of fake explanation for the money. But I had enough proof now. The messages, the bank transfers, her attempts to hide her phone, everything pointed to one thing. She was lying, and she was desperate. One night I decided to confront her again, this time more directly. I sat her down, looked her in the eyes, and told her I knew the truth about her affair, the money, and her lies. I told her I wasn't going to let her walk all over me anymore. Her reaction was a mixture of anger and tears. She screamed at me, calling me paranoid, saying I was ruining everything. But I didn't care anymore. I'd already lost a part of myself in this process, and I wasn't going to lose the rest without fighting back. I also reached out to a forensic accountant to help trace the money. I needed concrete proof that she'd transferred funds to her own accounts or to her lover. The accountant was able to uncover some suspicious transactions, and I felt a flicker of hope that I could recover at least some of the money. But I knew this was going to be a long, ugly battle. She was cunning and manipulative, and she'd probably do everything to keep what she'd stolen. That night I sat alone in my office, going over everything again. I felt a mix of exhaustion, anger, and a strange sense of determination. I'd been betrayed so badly. But I refused to let her win. I'd fight for my rights, for my dignity, and for whatever was left of the life I'd built. I'd learned that trust is fragile, and once broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. But I also learned that sometimes you have to fight dirty, dig deep, and stand your ground. Because if you don't, they'll take everything and leave you with nothing. I knew I couldn't fix what was broken overnight, but I could make sure she paid for what she'd done. I'd get my money back, I'd get justice, and I'd find a way to move on. No matter how much it hurt, I had to believe that someday this nightmare would end. And when it did, I'd be stronger for it. The legal process dragged on, and every day felt like walking through thick mud. I was doing everything I could, hearing experts, gathering evidence, pushing my lawyer to speed things up. Meanwhile, Lisa kept trying to spin her lies, pretending everything was fine, even trying to act like the victim. She'd call me crying, begging for forgiveness, claiming she was sorry and that she still loved me. But I saw right through her. Love doesn't drain a bank account, cheat on you with your best friend, and lie to your face. Eventually, the court hearing started. I remember sitting there, hearing her try to deny everything, throwing accusations back at me, saying I was controlling, jealous, paranoid. It was like talking to a wall. She was so good at manipulation, I almost believed she thought her own lies were true. But I had the evidence, screenshots, bank statements, expert testimony, and I knew I had a solid case. Still, it was emotionally exhausting, knowing I was reliving every betrayal over and over. When the judge finally made her ruling, it was a relief and a blow all at once. She ordered Lisa to pay back the stolen money, to surrender her claims to the house, and to cover my legal expenses. The court also granted me sole custody of any remaining assets, and Lisa was ordered to stay away from my life. It wasn't everything I wanted. Nothing could undo the pain of the betrayal, but it was a start. I finally felt like I was reclaiming some control. Looking back, I realize how much I've grown through this mess. I learned that trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to rebuild. I learned that people can surprise you in the worst ways, and that sometimes you have to fight tooth and nail just to keep what's yours. I also learned the importance of standing up for yourself, no matter how hard it gets. I'd been naive, thinking love meant never having to fight, never having to defend your boundaries. Now I know that love, true love, is also about respect and honesty, and if those are gone, then everything else is just hollow. Today, I'm slowly putting the pieces back together. I still feel the sting of betrayal, but I'm also grateful for the lessons. I've learned to trust myself more, to be cautious, and to value integrity above all. I've realized that sometimes the greatest act of strength is walking away from someone who doesn't deserve you. I've started rebuilding my life, focusing on my career, reconnecting with friends, and finding new hobbies. Most importantly, I won't let this define me. It's a chapter I wish I could erase, but it's also one that's made me stronger. If there's one thing I want others to take from my story, it's this: don't ignore the signs. Trust your gut. And if you ever find yourself betrayed like I was, fighting for your money, your dignity, and your sanity, stand up and fight. Because at the end of the day, you have only yourself. And sometimes that's enough to come out on top.